and project.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. And she'll be joining us in a little while.
All right, perfect. Thank you. And I'm gonna share the agenda again really quick before I take it down. So we did the welcome and introductions, of course. We're gonna jump right in to hear from 3 speakers. And this is really gonna be a solution-focused meeting. I think we all mostly understand the issues. We're always welcome to talk about those, but I wanna hear from some homegrown solutions and the Dawson Resiliency Hub that ABC2 runs, and also their digital inclusion task force. It's a really great example of digital inclusion in Halifax County. Wave 7 is not just an internet service provider, but they also focus a lot on digital inclusion. However, it is very interesting about their infrastructure and how they make that work. So I'm excited to hear from them. And then we're going to hear more about the Enfield Public Safety Connectivity Study, which Krista mentioned is funded by Rural LISC and administered by the COG. And then after those 3 speakers, we'll just have an open discussion. And that's pretty much it. So if we end a little early, that's fine, but we're welcome to stick around through 11:30. And I see Betsy Kane joined. Betsy, do you want to introduce yourself really quick?
Hey, Ben and everyone. I work with Ben at UCP COG, and I'm a senior regional planner. Most of my time is spent on helping local governments with their ARPA, American Rescue Plan Act, technical assistance and compliance with the federal guidelines around that funding source. So there is some interaction between, of course, the ARPA programs, which include an explicit reference to increasing broadband access. So that's why I'm part of this meeting, and please reach out to me if you have any ARPA questions at any time. Thanks.
Thank you, Betsy. And then I see from Edgecombe County, Natalie Bess also signed on. Natalie, would you like to introduce yourself really quick? All right, I can see you.
Good morning, my name is Natalie Bess. I'm the Deputy County Manager for Edgecombe County. Been a part of the task force. I previously worked for Town of Pine Tops as manager and have been in Boston again.
All right, thank you, Natalie. It's great to have some counties, some towns, and some policy people on the call. So really great turnout today. I appreciate that. And we're gonna go ahead and pass it to Chester. You should have screen sharing capabilities. Let me know if you need anything, Chester.
Okay. All right, so good morning again, everyone. As Ben said, I am Chester Williams, and I just wanted to thank Ben for this opportunity to be able to share with you all about what we have going on at the Dawson Resiliency Hub. And I want to just double check that you all can see my screen.
Yeah, looks good.
Awesome. So I want to start give you a little overview about ABC2, which is a Better Chance, a Better Community. Started with our mission, which is connecting rural communities with resources to activate youth power and advocate for realistic solutions. ABC2 was founded 10 years ago in 2012 by yours truly as a way to give voice and activate power in young people to be a part of community change. So taking their passion and connecting it to the community work overall. So I'm gonna share a little bit about our digital inclusion plan as it relates to the Dawson Resiliency Hub. We received a $5,000 implementation digital literacy grant from Band NC, which is building a new digital economy in North Carolina. And we followed 3 main focus, which was a part of this, part of Band NC, which is availability, accessibility, and adoption. So with the Dawson Resiliency Hub, we use this grant to be able to infuse some opportunities for our community. For those that know, the Dawson Resiliency Hub is the former Dawson Elementary School that ABC2 was fortunate to be able to acquire or purchase to turn into a resiliency hub to address not just emergency needs, but the basic needs of our rural communities, but also to organize and build power within to help address those needs on a day-to-day basis. So with this grant, we focus on digital literacy in a way of purchasing 20 laptops, which was Chrome notebooks, and 10 iPads, and then also basic internet service that people can utilize when they're at the Resiliency Hub for programs, workshops, etc. So we have like a mobile computer lab there but also with the laptops, students and others from the community is able to check the computers out for free to be able to take home. They're already internet based. So when they have it, they have internet at home in their location and they work in the rural community. So a little bit about the Dawson Resiliency Hub. That's the picture of the school in the background that we are erecting as a resiliency hub. It's to foster grassroots organizing strategies for civic engagement, health equity, environmental justice, and economic vitality. And where we're located in the southeastern part of the county, broadband is one of those serious issues. So I want to be able to use this hub to be able to, one, be a pilot of what digital or broadband can look in a rural community to create connectivity at points, but also to serve as an educational point to learn about digital inclusion and learn about different opportunities as it relates to technology and communications. So this is the outlay of the school that we use. The front part here where you see the kitchen lobby. We use that for programming, meetings, and also use it for our food program. And then the classrooms we are having renovated. But if you look at the back end, what they say, the media center, classroom 112 down to 18 and 111 to 117, that part is dedicated to the Resiliency Hub, where we currently have inventory for PPE, gloves, masks, hand sanitizer. We also have emergency equipment like generators, solar generators, battery operated equipment that could be used in emergency that community members can check out. And then those middle classroom there is going to be for the computer lab, also for board meetings for the community and meeting spaces that will be available in that space. So when we talk about the Dawson Resiliency Hub and what we have been able to do, we have been able to create the digital literacy. We incorporated into our summer camp this last summer, where the students got to use the laptops and the iPad just for pleasure, but also to learn about doing surveys in the community to capture information and transform that data into presentation to the community based on their learning experience, because each week was dedicated to a different focus area, from health and wellness to self-care to civic engagement, etc. We also have the GIS Club. ABC2 has a 4-H club, but within that we have the GIS Club, which we have done walk audits over the years. We partnered with the town of Scotland Neck and Corporate Extension to do a walk audit in Scotland Neck. But recently we have been working with building a relationship with the town of Enfield, the town of Weldon, town of Gaston, to be able to do walk audits. And what walk audits are is being able to go into the town or the community to see the walkability and the safety of the community, and being able to identify those opportunities to make them more safe or create access points to health, recreation, food, healthcare, etc. So with the walk audits, we'll be able to go in, and the GIS component is to teach technology using ArcGIS to be able to take pictures of sidewalks or take pictures of where there need to be more lighting, or if there's a gap as in terms of safety walking across the street, et cetera, branches down, being able to capture those images and put them on a GIS map, and then be able to share that with elected officials or DOT to show that these are our access points or opportunities for growth to make our community safer and walkable. And then also use it as a tool as things are being updated or improvements are made, we can update on that map to show those improvements and how that happens. So it's really putting the power in the people's hands to be able to advocate for their communities. Also, Dawson has become a resource assistance site, because now we have internet there, have the laptops, we're able to assist individuals and their families to sign up for services online, especially Medicaid services, which the HOPS program, which I'll talk about shortly. For the food bank, being able to do that online at Dawson Resiliency Hub, or connecting them to appointments for telehealth. So that has been very good for our community to be able to provide that space at this Dawson Resiliency Hub. Also, I would say that because we have internet there, because of this grant, we position ourselves to be a human service organization for Medicaid, for the Health and Opportunities Pilot Project, to be able to maximize our food program, but also to maximize our connection with individuals, to support them in doing their assessments and signing up for to be eligible for services through the HOPS program, which includes food, of course, which what APC2 does, the food boxes, as well as healthy meals that we pick up or deliver to the clients or the participants. but then also assist them with their eligibility for other services that are provided through the pilot program to address those social determinants of health, like transportation, housing, and IPV behavior management services. And then also within that is helping them to sign up for like additional services throughout the community, like with Department of Social Services. In our area, have CADA and other needs that they have. Also, we've been able to have ARPA funding, and I heard that was mentioned earlier by Nash County that they included broadband in their conversation for their ARPA funding. We have been doing community sessions and partnering with local governments to do those sessions, and broadband has been a part of those conversations. So being able to bring up what we're doing at Dawson to be a model as in terms of how to support digital literacy, but their connectivity and community. In 2023, we'll be doing specific ARPA sessions in Halifax County to support Halifax County commissioners on what they have identified as possible funding opportunities as in terms of recreation, broadband, healthcare, and others to make sure that we have a connection with the community to support these decisions that are made to support community infrastructure throughout the county. And also I know that this is the Upper Coastal Plain, we also adopted Gates County to do broadband conversations there to talk about the communications gap that happen and how broadband can help infuse to connect them to North Carolina news and North Carolina information, because right now they're kind of in the desert and learning more about Virginia, having those connections there, but how we do that through digital opportunities and making sure that's in the opera conversations, but also in the community partners conversations there as well. Also at Dawson, we have been able to provide homework assistance and tutorial, being able to have students to come there and connect with their tutors virtually, give those tutorial assistants there by having the computers and laptops available to be able to use, to be able to get on programs that they may not have access to at home. And then also hybrid programs. So we've been able to host many organizations to have their meetings there, to be able to have hybrid opportunities for those that may not be able to travel to Dawson, or those that may not be able to travel from our rural communities to the larger areas, so that have a connection point for those programming meetings and opportunities that are available. So these are ways to build resilience, and we're very important about digital inclusion, purpose, emotion, intelligence, etc. But I wanted to share a quick video with you guys that captures the essence of the Resiliency Hub and how digital literacy may not necessarily have to be named every time, but it is a part of and it will incorporate in every facet of the work that we do in our community, which connects us.
In an old elementary school, Chester Williams and his A Better Chance, A Better Community team are filling boxes with food, supplying Medicaid clients with ingredients to help them through the week. It's a dream he first had in 8th grade and started years later with those hometown friends.
We always had a passion for our community, but we really never had a platform to be able to voice our opinions and change. And we always felt that if you give the community a chance, it can be better because we know our community.
But they're not just interested in keeping people physically healthy. They also want a healthy community, which means civic involvement. So going out with the food, packets about November's midterm election.
Communication and access to information is limited in our area because we're very rural. So using food as an access point, because two things are very critical, food and music. So having food and doing food boxes give us access to a community that lives in a communication desert.
Williams says he believes there are a lot of barriers to civic involvement in rural places. The counties are geographically big, and many have transportation and broadband gaps. It also takes time to be involved. According to the Rural Center and the 2020 census, 78 of North Carolina's 100 counties are considered rural. That's a lot of voters.
Their families, they try to meet church obligations, they try to meet the things that are having their own personal world. So to be connected on a larger scale is difficult because to get to the nearest grocery store, it takes about 30, 45 minutes. About an hour. To make those amenities possible, you have to plan.
So this group and others keep putting out information to help put those plans in place. Because as Williams says, they've already seen how their work has shifted the trajectory of their rural home.
We had one to tell me that she was able to get her medicine because her husband passed, everything was on her. So being able to get these boxes have been very helpful for her and her lifestyle. And she's been able to do other things and enjoy life. So that lets me know that what we're doing is right.
3 still.
All right. Hope you all enjoyed that. And that really captures who we are at ABC2 and at the Dawson Resiliency Hub. And that's what resiliency is and how it can be inclusive and show that intersectionality of all those issues, but we call them opportunities, and how digital and broadband is at the center of that to connect people to all things that are important to them and their lifestyles. Also, I do want to connect that to the community farm where we're erecting a greenhouse to be able to build an enterprise where it's going to be connected to Dawson through internet capabilities to be able to do operations in the greenhouse to show innovation with young people, but also using this as an incubator to, I don't want to say grow, but yeah, grows new younger farmers into the local community-based food system. We will have a partnership with the Hen and the Hog, the Farm to Table restaurant in Halifax, where we'll be growing their greens, particularly kale, cabbages and things in this greenhouse, and then also other areas to be able to grow the food for our food program at the Dawson Resiliency Hub. Also, I want to share about the Northeastern North Carolina Regional Connections because this is our regional group for Northeastern North Carolina that meets Thursdays at 2 p.m. The next meeting is on January the 12th of 2023. And this space is to cultivate resource sharing and collaboration and advocacy on the larger level. And one of the things that the Northeastern North Carolina Regional Connection has identified digital literacy and broadband as one of their focus areas, and in 2023 really thriving into that as in terms of what we're having these local conversations in our communities, in our counties, and how do we connect on a regional level to be able to look at regional connectivity in a unique way. The counties that we do cover are listed here, which is Nash, Edgecombe, Wilson, Halifax, Northampton, Hereford, Bertie, Martin, Burford, Washington, Gate, Shawan, Columbus, Pasquotank, Camden, Currituck, Terrell, Dare, Hyde, and Washington counties. And this is also an overlay of ABC2 and where our service areas are as a regional hub for Northeastern North Carolina. And just wanted to share some of our objectives that we worked on so hard these last couple of months. So I just want to share with you guys, just because you're invited to be a part of this space too, because you all live, work, play, or pray in Northeastern North Carolina. So we talk about strategies for increasing equitable access to information and resources for disproportionately affected groups, partner with disproportionately affected groups to identify needs and opportunities, identify and removing obstacles and barriers, regional collaboration through communications and support, and partnering with trusted messengers to increase trust and regional confidence. And we need your support and being a part of these conversations as we build it together. Because connectivity is about us working together and bringing our resources and leveraging those to be able to carve ways and opportunities for a thriving community. So with that, we do have goals that we have set for ourselves. Is that one of the things at the Resiliency Hub, we do want to erect the Digital Resource Lab or the library at the Dawson Resiliency Hub as part of our renovation process. We have basic internet now, but we do want fiber internet and community access to be able to expand the reach of the internet services, because we do have quite many rural communities and also a farm worker community within less than a quarter of a mile of Dawson School, but also looking at connectivity for the two churches that are located near us for faith-based communities, and being able to have Dawson as that access point for fiber internet. And then digital security plan, really looking at, because we're not housing data, we do our best now, but really exploring that and use it as an educational opportunity for rural communities at the hub to be able to talk about digital security plan. How is that included as in terms of, as we're transmitting data and information, how do we protect that in a way? And then talking as a community, what does that look like for us? Then to continue to offer awareness sessions on broadband specifically, because that is a huge need. And while we have this blessing of opportunity with ARPA funding, to make sure that we use that to create a baseline that make us economically vital but also giving our young people opportunity to be able to thrive at home, to be able to have that support system in their educational journey. And then lastly, the digital assessment. So looking at resiliency and connecting with digital inclusion, and what does that look like as part of our resiliency work, and defining that ourselves, because resilience is a word that we throw out there, but really defining and being intentional on how that connects to digital inclusion by offering innovative programming. So on that note, one, I want to see if you're able to commit to monthly meetings, 1.5 hours on first Friday. So that's part of the Northeastern North Carolina that we have our Thursday meetings. We wanted to extract time just on first Fridays of each month to talk specifically about digital inclusion and broadband and what that looks like, and have presenters to come and share to our regional partners about opportunities and how we can build this regional connection. So the next meeting will be on January 6th at 10 a.m. You can just connect with me to be a part of that listserv. So I also wanted to share some opportunities that you may find to be very cool. Many of you may know about Metaverse. It's about the virtual world of what possibly could be. One of the things our young people at ABC2 is how to incorporate this into our work and what we do, as in terms of, yes, this is a virtual reality, but sometimes in community like ours, and it's sad to say that we come from a hopeless perspective. So we want to use Metaverse to create a hopeful perspective, as in terms, how do you create an equitable address community? So being able to have conversation in a virtual world of what that may look like, and then step back and talk about how do we get to that virtual reality to make it a reality in our communities. So we'll be having a Metaverse conversation on January 6th at 10 a.m. via Zoom. My good friend from undergrad at North Carolina A&T, Demo, who's very well-versed in Metaverse, is going to do a presentation about what it is, and then have conversations and steps how we include this in a series that's going to go throughout 2023 about Metaverse. And then the first Friday in February, we're going to talk about working remotely in rural Northeastern North Carolina. We have had a lot of businesses and agencies that have come and approached Dawson and myself and others about how do we cultivate this working remotely community in rural communities where broadband is an issue. So being able to have companies to come to talk about that, and then also having substations at the Dawson Resiliency Hub to be able to promote that those that want to work remotely but may not have the capabilities at home, they will have space at the Dawson Resiliency Hub to be able to do their work on a day-to-day basis. So we'll have those conversations on the first Friday in February. So at this point, this is all that I have to share for today. Are there any initial questions that are coming up for you? What is resonating or connected with you at this moment from our presentation?
Yeah, we've got a few minutes to ask Chester some questions. Thank you so much, Chester.
Yeah.
And I just want to say that it's a really good example of how you can turn success into more success. You're really leveraging your efforts. And I think that's really important in the nonprofit world. And maybe tell us a little bit about your staff capacity. I know you do a lot of youth training. And
yes,
so tell us a little bit about how y'all do that at ABCT.
All right, so we're very fortunate to be a youth organization, and because digital has been a part of ABC2 from the founding, we're able to connect with a lot of young people, and like I said before, they're passionate, connected to the work. So we have about 22 young people that are working in ABC2, and as well as some adult staff to help support and encourage and motivate. So we have, I think most everybody probably know Dylan Dotson. He's our Chief Innovation Officer, which oversees GIS. He's a graduate student at NC State, and he's currently working at the governor's office. We also have Michaela Johnson, who's from Scotland, who is our Director of Diversity and Inclusion. We have a Director of Social Justice. We have a Director of Health Equity. So it goes on, and all of us, we work together as a team. So no particular role works on a particular task by themselves. We actually have weekly meetings on Sundays where we brainstorm or have dreaming sessions of what to come, how we bring this to life. And as the CEO, my title is I'm the Chief Empowerment Officer. So I'm constantly encouraging young people to speak up, have their voice, build their power, and understand that they have a role at the table. So they're leading the work. So everything that you see come from ABC2 to Dawson Resiliency Hub come from young people, and they are 95% of the staff at ABC2. And then also we have internship programs where we bring in other young people from various universities. We have a World Changers group or club at North Carolina A&T State University and one at Elizabeth City State University. And we're starting one in 2023 at UNC Chapel Hill. And that's because many young people that's been a part of our program and grew up and graduate high school, they go off to college. And then they see opportunities on how to create and carry these conversations for young people to really ignite their power. So it's more about social capital than actually have a job. For them, they're really having fun and doing what's making sense. And I just direct it and connect it to the overall work of community change.
Thanks, Chester. So if anybody else has any questions for him right now, feel free to unmute or ask in the chat. All right, I think last question for you, Chester. Have you worked with the Albemarle Commission and the Mideast Commission at all? The other?
Kubi's. Well, not directly. I've been part of those conversations and those public information sessions. And the Resiliency Hub model has come up in all of those conversations. So we're looking forward to connecting more with the different cause to really move this forward, because innovation is a part of resiliency.
Yeah, let us know if you need any help with that.
Awesome.
And so with that, we'll pass it on to LaShawn, I think, or maybe Avery, but either of you are welcome to take it away.
Well, I am just so impressed with what I just heard, very encouraged by that. And congratulations, Chester and ABC too. Very inspiring. So a little bit about how we got started here, guys, and thank you again for the opportunity. My husband and I reside in Greensboro, North Carolina. I saw some A&T paraphernalia back there in the clip. It caught my eye. So Aggie pride for those who
Aggie pride.
Yeah, both of us.
Uh-oh.
But before,
Congratulations on the Celebration Bowl. Man.
Yeah, congratulations on the win.
okay, back to the business at hand. But I will say, before my husband, who happens to be my CTO, came to A&T, he was living in Enfield, North Carolina. And what happened for us is about 2018, I think it was, Avery and I both worked from home. We've always worked from home. And we had a tornado that tore through the town. We lost power. Internet, of course, went with that, and that was our main means of income. So we were really frantic about getting back online so that we continued to do our work. And in that frustration, my husband just said, doggone it, what does it take to start an internet company? I'm tired of this. And that's basically how we landed here, just out of going to what I call Google University and YouTube University. And we found a site that showed how to start an internet company. And that's what we did, guys. And so that was in February of 2022. And, 2020,
Right.
February 2020. And then, of course, we know what all happened. But when we started here, we were actually thinking about starting in Greensboro, but things just didn't happen well for us. And so the partner company that we were working with, they said, well, you're from a rural town. Why don't you take it to Enfield? And so my husband made some calls just to see what that feasibility was, and they opened their arms wide open to us. The town made available the public library, and that's where our main hub is located. And as a, I guess for rent, you would say, we offer free Wi-Fi access to the town. And that was really tremendous during the pandemic, because we really had, parents taking their children out to the parking lot and doing park and learn. So that was a great resource. The town also opened up 2 water towers to us in the town, because we are fixed wireless. And it would allow us to reach more homes. So now we're in the process of our second deployment on a water tower, so that we can reach more homes. In the community, though, one thing I love is that we're able to be in the trenches with the town. We hear the stories of how people are paying a whole lot for a little bit of internet. So not in every case it's an issue of connectivity. It's actually the case of affordability. Broadband debt has been a big issue in the town. People were saying, we can't afford the bills that we have, so we don't have internet right now. And so for some of the other incumbents, you know, we hear those kinds of stories of the speeds, of the cost. And the model that we brought to Enfield has helped people avoid being in broadband debt. And we really love that. You know, most people can relate to a pay for what you use kind of service. And that's how our model is set up. You know, there was one recent installation that we did. It was the Enfield Park and Rec Center where they had internet, but it was unreliable. And so the director of the rec center would literally go and park at the library to do all of her work and then go back to the center. And so now she has, you know, internet there and doing some great things, and we love it. The other thing we've been able to do in our partnerships is form relationships like with a nonprofit. We work with the Community Hope Center. They were very instrumental in us getting our first grant. And we got the grant from the Truist Epic grant that afforded us to be able to help senior citizens. For one, that was one of the things that we did. I actually created a digital literacy course, and it's just been, you know, an amazing opportunity, because when you see those seniors no longer be afraid on how to get on a Zoom, and they know they can do their telehealth, that is a big win. When the pandemic happened and people were not able to talk to their families, didn't know how to even go about doing that visibly, now they can. That was a big win for us. We're about to do our fourth senior citizens digital class, and there's already a waiting list for the fifth class. So we're really excited about that. There was also an opportunity for us to afford about 15 families with scholarships that included them getting a Chromebook, as well as getting 1 year's free internet from Wave 7. So just excited to be doing those kinds of things. We're learning a lot as we go. And we have neighboring towns reaching out to us, wanting us to come. So yeah, it's just been a great learning experience. And we're looking forward to seeing how many more families we can help, how many more towns we can help. And that's about it. And I'll let Avery chime in if he wants to.
Sure. I just wanted to show a quick map of our coverage area right now. I'll share it on desktop. Can you guys see our desktop?
Yeah, looks good.
Okay. So right now we have about 75 customers that we're servicing right now. I'm sorry, I'm looking at I got two screens, so excuse me if I seem a little distracted here. But we currently serve about 75 customers. The water tower deployment will allow us to reach the rest of the majority of town. We currently use 5 gigahertz spectrum. So with that, you know, there are some limitations with that spectrum as far as non-line of sight, you know, trees, buildings, leaves, stuff like that. And so with this next water tower deployment, that will allow us to utilize the CBRS technology, which will help compensate for that. The other thing too is that with this grant that we received from Connect Humanity, we're going to offer a workforce development program. So we want to try to raise up digital stewards, right? We want to empower people, as the gentleman from the Dawson Resiliency Hub stated, you know, empower people to work remotely. You know, I think that, you know, one of the studies I believe that I read was that when there's affordable and adequate internet access, it changes the economics of that region, of that, you know, municipality. And so what we want to do, you know, of course, we're here to, you know, make a profit, of course, but the other thrust of our business is to uplift the community. You know, we want to be able to create digital stewards. We want to create economic opportunities, online learning, working remotely, creating a technology or a highly skilled technological, you know, base in towns like Enfield, you know, because, you know, there's a world of opportunity. Like my wife stated, I've worked remote for probably maybe about 18 years. And I'm currently right now, I'm still working full time. I'm an engineer with a telecommunications company, a national carrier. And but the opportunities that are available for those that want to branch out into the field of, IT, cybersecurity, networking, things of that, even the physical plant layer where you're laying fiber, running cables, all of those things, it creates a tremendous opportunity for the residents. So our main thrust, yes, we want to make a profit. However, our thrust is to help small towns, help those that are unserved or underserved, have an equal footing in this digital economy.
Mm-hmm. And I would like to add, with the digital stewards part, one of the things that's so cool is people in town know that we are local. So although Avery and I live in Greensboro, we have 2 technicians on the ground in Enfield to service our customers. And that just brings a different feel to the support that people really deserve and don't always get. And they love being able to talk to people when they call. So yeah, just wanted to add that bit. So does anybody have any questions for us?
Sweetie, let me interject one other thing.
Okay.
My wife talked about the prepayment model that we use. We currently partner with a company called Althea Hawk Networks, who they basically provide our agnostic, I guess it's a vendor agnostic system that allows customers to pay online. We also have given our customers the ability to control their speed to bring their prices down. So if you feel like you're spending too much money at 100 megabits per second, and you say, hey, I want to reduce it down to 50, to 20, to 30, we give our customers the ability to do that in our software. So that gives them, that gives them the ability to bring down their costs if they feel it's too high. And so we want to kind of decentralize things, right? We want to put the power back into the hands of our consumers, right? So that, they have they can be more economical in the way that they use the internet services.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions for us?
So LaShawn, at this point, I guess anybody in Enfield can sign on to Wave 7 for the most part if you're in town limits. Is that correct?
Well, not yet, but
Okay.
when we get the second deployment, we will be able to reach the majority of the town. And that's our aim. Yes.
Yeah, thanks for clarifying.
Yeah, and it will also allow us to reach a little bit outside of the town also. We have to do some more testing as soon as the equipment is installed, because we want to make sure that we can deliver what we promise, right? We don't want, we definitely want to deliver what we promise, but there's several technologies that are out there now, Ben, that we're looking at also that's going to really provide. Fiber is one, of course, but then there's some wireless technologies that are out there that are being tested that we've seen pretty good results from that would give close to fiber speeds wireless with non-line of sight capabilities. The issue though, this is the caveat, right, is that, we are looking to make that type of technology be affordable to the residents, right? Because usually, with new technology, there's a high cost that's associated. And our goal is that as we implement these technologies to make it affordable for our customers, so.
And Marcus, I think you're unmuted. Do you have a question for?
Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yes.
Hey, good morning. Marcus Bost, ECU Health, Director of Care Innovation. Sorry, I missed earlier introductions. Hey, if you don't mind me asking, Avery, what technology are you using? I'm just curious. I was in this space 20 years ago. I just curious what's working now.
Right now, we're using 5 gigahertz fixed wireless. Right now, mainly Ubiquity antennas and CPEs, right? Radios. We have as far as, and a little bit of Cambium. So with the next deployment, we'll be using the Cambium 5 gigahertz radios next. And with CBRS, we're going with AirSpan. Yeah, we're going with AirSpan next. And so what we want to do is create like and I've seen certain companies do this, they call it a pancake layer, right? So 5 gigahertz for those that are, close to range, LTE for those that are further away, And so that's the kind of layered approach we want to provide so that we can basically reach anybody in town, Yeah.
As the customer premise equipment, is it reasonable now? It used to be crazy expensive 20 years ago. That was
It actually Ubiquity is one of it's the go-to. I think it's Ubiquity, and there's one other, Microtech. Those two are the two that most wireless service providers go with now for starting up, and then eventually migrate to Cambium, which is our goal. We want to migrate to Cambium, and then more so CBRS, and then down the road we'll go with, we plan to have a layer of fiber next. That's the next plan. So
very nice.
yeah, but
Thanks for sharing.
We can get our customers installed for probably about $250. However, we were able to get a grant from the Truest Internet Society, ISOP, and that grant allowed us to get free equipment to our subscribers. So because most people, it's hard, kind of hard to, pay $200 up front. And other broadband providers know now, I mean, I've had at our home, our installation was free, right? So you make the money, of course, on the back end with the payments per month. So yeah, so that's our goal. Our goal is to, free installs, and we handle the labor costs, of course. And then as customers stick with us, to recoup that cost back. And fortunately, we've only lost one customer to another competitor, which is very fortunate, in the 3 years that we've been in business. The other caveat to that is that, with rural towns, that's why we want to help economically, because it can be transitory with people renting, moving, things of that nature. So we want to create, a stability where, because if you have residents that own homes, right, then that increases the tax base in the town, right? So we want to help create an economic growth model, an economic engine within the town, right? So that our towns can be restored back to the prosperity that was there when I was growing up, and things of that nature. So.
And I would be remiss if I did not mention that, the Wave of Hope project, it's a project that we are doing with the community of Hope, and it was specifically put in place to expand the reach of our service. And Connect Humanity awarded the community of Hope a very nice size grant that included us in it to be able to do this expansion work with this second deployment. So, the only thing that I would say is that, with the grants, and we won't stop looking for grants. We haven't been state funded at this point, but more so privately. But the funding part, it was a big need for us as well. And so Connect Humanity afforded us an opportunity of funding outside of the grant that allows us to do those things that, are needed to run our business with the OpEx expenses and stuff like that. Because not always will grants afford you to do that kind of thing, right? So we are now in a better position to bring on more staffing for us and to help us with that growth that we're looking to need really soon because of this expansion of new customers. So I just wanted to add that as well.
Yeah, and I'll just point out the state will have a grant program in the spring. I know Annette, I think she's still on, but the Office of Digital Equity and Literacy. So y'all should take a look at that, you too, Chester, and see if there's an opportunity there for further connections. So,
okay.
So there's no other questions for Wave 7. I really do appreciate that, guys. I'll give everybody a chance to ask one more question if you have any while we're on here. And Avery, I'll just point out that comment from Annette. She'd like to connect with you sometime.
Great.
So just heads up. And feel free to put y'all's contact info in the chat. Yeah, you're welcome to. And so we're going to stay in Enfield and talk a little bit about the Enfield Public Safety Connectivity Study. And I've had the pleasure of being a part of this project sort of the partnership relations manager and the administrator with Rural ISK, and CTC, the engineering firm, the broadband planning firm that's really leading this effort in Enfield. And I'll give a quick little overview, but I'll mostly let y'all talk about it. But it started out as trying to study Enfield's public safety connectivity needs and how their broadband situation really affects things like the police force, the fire department, public works. That's an industry the town was struggling with for a while. Just a small anecdote, the cops would have to drive to town hall to print tickets because there wasn't good connectivity in the cars, which takes them off the street, which it ultimately leads to less vigilance in the town. So we also were able to turn the project into a guidebook. So currently CTC is developing I don't know the name of it exactly, but it's a digital inclusion guidebook for small towns like Enfield who are in a similar situation to help guide their broadband planning needs further. Related to public safety, but also just in general. So I'm going to pass it to Era Casey and Miriam Gilla-Wiles with CTC Technology and Energy.
Hi, Ben. Actually, Miriam is on the line. I'll let her introduce herself finally, and she'll be presenting the deck today.
Thanks for letting me run a little late and introducing me, Era, previously. I'm Miriam Gilla-Wiles. I am Senior Broadband Strategy Analyst here at CTC, and I previously have worked in rural broadband development for about 13 years. And actually was the director of a COG at one point in time. So Ben and I have a lot of fun conversations about this as well. I am going to share my screen because I've got a pretty short little PowerPoint, but it'll walk us through some things and keep me I
think we might have lost Miriam. Let's see if we
are gonna roll with it.
Miriam, we missed some of what you said. Just to let everyone know, Miriam is having some connectivity issues. She's actually in the outskirts of Phoenix, Arizona today. And as happens so often, I know I'm preaching to the choir, but these meetings only serve to reinforce the work that we do.
Yeah.
And the need for robust connectivity.
Right? Like I'm in a major metropolitan area and my internet is pretty.
And you're in a meeting about broadband and it's virtual, which is always
That's always the best when it doesn't.
Yeah.
Let's see. Okay, so can everybody see my screen? All right.
Yes.
Perfect. Let's see if I can. There we go. And you can see can you see the like presenter view or can you see the
I got full page slides. Cool. You're good. Yeah.
Perfect.
It's always, like I said, kind of a question sometimes how it does it on Zoom versus Teams versus the other 12 platforms we use. So anyways, I'm going to give you a quick little overview of what we're doing in Enfield that then is hopefully will be applicable to a lot of the other small communities in this part of the world and maybe even beyond. And quick shout out to Lisk and Krista on here as well, because they are helping make this project a reality. So maybe, hey, there we go. So the project team has been Ben and then myself, Ziggy Rivkin-Fish, who is our vice president for all the broadband strategy. He's the big thinker. And then Era, who has been making everything actually happen. And she introduced herself earlier today too. Then, so here's our quick agenda. My clicking is a little slow, so apologies if it's taking a bit. We're going to talk about the background. Some of our finding and other funding opportunities with the other one, or with the new grant coming up with the state, and sort of the next steps about our implications and what are we going to do with this all. So we'll start from the background. 2021, CTC and CERCAP, we worked together to try to figure out how to bring connectivity to this community. Through that, we did some research in mapping and speed tests and looked at funding strategies at the time. And then the traditional broadband model that a lot of us work under is trying to bring connectivity into the residents, and that expands into the anchor institutions like a town or a business or something like that. And through that process, because I'm field is very small and pretty remote, the market is just too small to generally attract most of the standard service providers opportunities, like your additional cable companies or a larger disruptor. So we started to look at this again this year because the issue didn't go away just because the market's kind of small. And like Ben said, there's massive public safety issues, and that also includes being able to manage and monitor like the water drinking, the water system. On time to then address crime or fires. And so through LIST, the Local Initiatives Support Corporation, we partnered with the Upper Coastal Plains Council of Governments to then look at a public safety connectivity plan, to look at the community's needs through that lens versus a residential lens, because it didn't work the first time with the residential lens. So the whole idea was to create a plan to figure out how to improve connectivity among those critical institutions. And then from that, because LISC is all about capacity building, and frankly, that's a major thing that I've also been involved with, and I think it's really important, is that we're going to create a playbook, or maybe more of a how-to, things to think about for the communities in this region that are facing similar challenges. And we know that like small rural communities have faced this forever and ever. So let's figure out how to solve it. So here's our little process chart, because some of us need pictures versus words. So we started with a statement of work. We did interviews with all the different public safety entities, fire, law enforcement, utilities, all of those. And then we went through and actually went on the ground. One of our engineers and Ziggy did that, took pictures, talked to folks. And then from that, we can do some mapping and a desk survey via GIS and all sorts of other maps that we have access to. We interviewed a number of you on this call with the internet service providers. And then from that, we are in the final throes of a plan and then developing a regional playbook. So that way, that's sort of the process. And we're down here at the nice right-hand side of the screen. So through the stakeholder engagement, we chatted with the police and the fire and EMS, the electric utility services that the town of Enfield owns, and the water and wastewater treatment. And those are just the sort of public safety critical infrastructure parts that we discussed. And then we also chatted with the internet service providers, the incumbent providers, regional providers, and as well as disruptors such as Wave 7. So what we found, probably not surprising to a lot of us that have lived or worked in small communities, is that the emergency response is impeded by connectivity, right? Like if you don't have enough internet, you don't know where you're going, you don't know how to, you don't even necessarily have cell phone service or GIS maps to look at things or be able to transmit data between like an ambulance and a hospital. The town also is impacted in its ability to operate in a more modernized way, and including the automation of infrastructure for public services. So making sure the electric utility is functioning correctly and that the wastewater treatment is actually treating the water and not effluents going into the creek or the river. So looking at where the infrastructure was near the community, and then also what providers, what ISPs are interested in partnering or upcoming funding opportunities to serve the community. And so then we looked at the funding opportunities, and for really small communities, and with North Carolina's legislative structure of not being able to participate in broadband development as a community with current funding sources, that does sort of limit some of it, but that doesn't limit a partner's ability to do that. So there's some funds from ARPA, the state and local fiscal recovery funds, or SLURF, and the capital project funds, infrastructure job, or the Infrastructure Act, the BEAD program. That one requires local governments to be able to be involved. The slew of state grants between the great grants, the CAB, and then BAND, and also rural utility service, because there is an electric utility provider, or the town of Enfield is an electric utility provider. That is one way to look at upgrading poles and infrastructure, and then also putting broadband infrastructure into the same time to be able to manage that electric utility. And then also, because this involves public safety, are there FEMA or Homeland Security funds that could possibly be used as well? Like, how do we layer our grant funds together to then help make sure that the community is served, both the town, the residents, and the businesses? So great. What do we do next? So we're going to put together, finish up our connectivity plan for the town, our recommendations in that. And through that, we'll develop a regional playbook, like I mentioned before, that'll be a less of a how-to and more of things to think about, where to go, who to talk to. And because we all know we need connectivity, but it can be really daunting when you have a small community that doesn't have a lot of resources, or as a small community that doesn't have a lot of resources to even know where to start. And that's where this is, that it will become a roadmap, hopefully, of like, just at least to know where to start, who to talk to, where to find information. And then potentially support an RFI or an RFP for the town to seek out additional services if they want to do that. So this gets us to that implications for Enfield and beyond, all these other communities that are in the exact same place. So we need to talk to the state to figure out, we need to talk to North Carolina so they can figure out how they're going to implement their BEAD funding, because that does have a requirement to engage with local communities, regional entities such as the COG, and other partners. And that's up to, while it's prescribed in the Infrastructure Act that they have to engage with it, how that engagement looks is up to the state generally. So engaging with the state broadband office is going to be really vital. We need to develop a robust communications infrastructure for the town. And that's because we need to make sure this technology is as future-proof as possible as well, because we're not going to be able to do this in 10 years. So how do we make sure that this is going to be meeting the needs now and for the future? And then we also need to work on strong partnerships with other private entities to ensure that that's part of that playbook, is that working with those partners to identify those projects will then help those other small communities, whether that be a partner that's here in the room today, or another ISP, or a nonprofit. It doesn't really matter, because a lot of times it's more than one partnership. A lot of times it's multiple partners solving a problem. And then also we need to figure out the expansion to other community institutions in these other communities. So is there a rec center? Is there a senior center? Things like that are also part of the community's structure and important to the community. They're not just the municipality and the residents or businesses, because those are also going to be vital to ensuring that we have connectivity. And the digital equity components about getting folks online safely and learning how to use internet, online banking, be able to do bill pay, things along those lines that are like, our world is all switching to that. But if you don't have connectivity, you don't necessarily know how to do those things, even when you do get connectivity. And that's a major component of also the Infrastructure Act as well. So these are very closely tied. So that's basically the plan, what we've done and where we're going. I'll put up my slide with my information on it, but then I'm going to stop sharing because it's more of a conversation, more Q&A. this isn't here to like wow everybody and be like, we're the most amazing things ever. I mean, we are pretty awesome, but so that is where we're at. And I can't turn my video on, Ben, so maybe you
Oh, that's
can.
okay. Yeah, thank you, Miriam. That was a great background. And I think I guess we're interested in hearing from anybody. I know Scotland next on the call, but anybody, because y'all live in rural North Carolina, what you'd like the guidebook to have in it, or how you think you could benefit from this guidebook. And if you know of any other public safety connectivity needs your community's having, or any questions for CTC. And I'll just say, stay tuned for the guidebook. It'll be available soon and we'll share it widely.
I also just wanted to do a shout out. I know we've spoken to several people on this call, and thanks to the previous two speakers. ABC2 sounds like a fabulous organization. We love the wraparound services and the regional outreach, and are excited about Wave 7's new grant. So thanks for engaging us previously. It really, it's helpful in informing the work that we do.
Yeah, the Wave 7's grant, I think, will be an excellent, will be excellent to get the community connected. And so that's an interesting partnership between like a town, a COG, a nonprofit, and a for-profit company in that space. And that's, I think, where a lot of this is going to end up, in the smaller communities.
I'd love to jump in here and just echo some of the things that folks have been saying. My background's economic development. One of the truisms in economic development is it takes 30 years or maybe 3 years to be an overnight success. And so congratulations to ABC2 and Wave 7 for how far you've progressed on your journey. As has been mentioned, Truist, which was at one time had a parent company, prior to the merger, headquartered in Wilson, or a strong presence in Eastern North Carolina. Truist is also the funder for Rural LISC's work and support to the Upper Coastal Plain Council of Governments with this project. So what I'm really pleased to see, and some of this is new learning for me today, that efforts are being built upon one another, that we are, finding ways that work, that braid resources. I think it's a great story to tell now somewhat outside funder, and certainly LISC has a national footprint in our rural program, has a partnership network that stretches across 150 organizations. Some longtime partners in Eastern North Carolina, but there's obviously a very strong and vital local driver, local stakeholders that are really driving a vision forward for Eastern North Carolina, and it's a huge honor to be someone on the outside looking in on that. Although I'm talking to you from Charlotte, so not too far away. But just an acknowledgement here to certainly to ABC2 and to Wave 7, but to our partners, CTC and Connect Humanity, where we're arriving at this moment, I think, of seeing a lot of progress in the rear view and a lot of opportunity ahead, and just appreciate the coordination and capacity to get to scale, working side by side. So Ben, kudos for organizing such a powerful agenda, that brings these progress made to date to the forefront. And
yeah, I really appreciate y'all doing this on Christmas week of all weeks too. So yeah, that was awesome. Thank you, Krista.
Yeah.
And so we kind of have an open discussion. Yeah, I think everything was very, very well said, so I don't need to repeat anything. But I know we have some counties on here, some towns, some ISPs. We have a few minutes here to sort of share anything you want to share about broadband, your broadband projects, or digital inclusion projects, or any more questions for the speakers, of course. And to kick things off, I want to give Jim, if you're still with us, a chance for you to talk about the CAB program. It can be real quick. Just let us know anything about that.
Yeah, Ben, hey, I am still on, and with regard to CAB, that is the successor program to the Great Grant. It is, the guidance for that is being written now. It looks like a 2023 kind of rollout. The CAB program is designed to do exactly what the Great Grant is designed to do, and that is to build fiber infrastructure to provide internet to unserved addresses. And what it envisions, and this is kind of unique, is that it envisions a partnership between the county and the state, whereby an RFP would be developed by the state and the county, targeting ISPs broadly, and hopefully it will lead to funding for areas that were not cared for under Great. So stay tuned for a heck of a lot of information coming out on that.
Yeah, we're happy to help you share that when the time comes.
Absolutely. Thank you for that.
Yeah. So Jim, I guess the idea is that the projects that were not selected for Great are now eligible for CAB.
Well, actually, Ben, that's there's going to be a second round of Great.
Okay.
Because after the governor announced awards in round one of Great, it was determined by senior management there is $80 million of Great funding left. So there will be a second round of Great where any provider who's not funded under the first round of Great has an opportunity to be funded in round two. So there may be certain counties, and I don't know what they are today, that will have a second ISP with funding attached or focused on their county. And yeah, the CAB grant is designed as a successor to Great, and we are hopeful. We are very hopeful. That's a $400 million funding opportunity. Ben, it has more dollars attached to it than the Great Grant. So more on that to follow.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Jim. I think that's really helpful for hopefully Wave 7. That was helpful for y'all and some of the local governments on the call. So I do want to point out, I don't want to put you on the spot, but Jason Webb from Edgecombe County joined up, and I still see Emily from Nash. So y'all are welcome to share anything about what your counties are up to in the broadband space.
We are currently partnering with CloudWise.
Okay.
So we're in the early planning phases of that. We've got the initial kind of where they're going to run to for the first run, and we're also kind of looking at where the county can invest to help them best expand out for other people. So actually, we're still in the very early planning phases.
Yeah.
With the goal of being done by end of 2024, I believe.
Yeah, I'm sure you're aware that Nash has worked with CloudWise quite a bit.
Yes.
So and Emily, I see you unmuted. So.
Yes, I'll say we've been in the public-private partnership with CloudWise for, it's been a couple years now. And I think we're going on to our fourth phase maybe of our project. But we did partner with them, gave them our letter of support specifically for Great Grant. And we have earmarked a good chunk of our ARPA money, which I think the plan is for that to be our match for Great, but then hopefully it'll be a match to several other grants. And I said, we earmarked a couple million. So we've got to figure out how to use it for getting broadband out to all of the county. But I know CloudWise with us, they are working on their first fiber build out here in Nashville. So one of our municipalities, and just trying to figure out, our biggest thing is how to get internet to the rural areas, not just, I guess from CloudWise's perspective, it doesn't make sense to build fiber out to everybody who's way out and everywhere else. And then with your towers, if there's trees in the way, that's just been our ongoing struggle. So I think as technology continues to advance, hopefully we'll get closer and closer to meeting our goal of having the majority of Nash County covered. but that's what we're still, one step at a time. That's what we're struggling through. And I know Cloudwise did get great grant here in Nash County. And we'll be waiting for the cab and listening out for that information for everywhere else. But nope, I'm just excited that maybe we'll start rolling out more internet to people.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for sharing. And Jason, do you know who got the great grant in Edgecombe County? Was it Cloudwise? Or
Sorry, say that again.
do you know if any ISPs got a great grant in Edgecombe County?
I think Cloudwise did get some.
Yeah,
Cloudwise,
I think
yeah.
so. Okay, that's good news. So,
We're having the same issue that y'all are having in Nashville. There's smaller municipalities that could really use it, but I guess they're not big enough for Cloudwise to be able to go out there at this point. So we're trying to find ways to get them included. Right now, we're running the same issue. We don't have to either not having towers or not having a tower tall enough, with all the trees that can make it worth their while to pushing it that direction.
yeah, for sure. So anything else from anyone that you want to share? I know, Marcus, you asked a question earlier you're still with Vidant, right? Just want to.
Yep. Sorry. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yeah, I can. Yeah.
Yeah. Biden rebranded in May to ECU
Okay.
Health. Sorry.
Yeah. Thanks for clarifying. And and Marcus, I'll share with you and everybody else, there is a telehealth mapping effort sort of cooking up in Halifax County. It's the NC Telehealth Network Association. The leader of it's John Graham, and he was going to join today. He wasn't able to, but he just kind of wanted to get a quick update. They're still considering using Halifax County and a few others outside our region as a pilot for a telehealth asset mapping effort. So I'll keep y'all in the loop about that. I think it'll be a very open, collaborative effort when it takes off.
Help me with that, Ben. How's that different than just a broadband sort of mapping?
I think the idea is to connect with the health providers directly and help them learn where their patients are living and what their broadband needs are. And then the other side is making sure the patients know what their telehealth options are. And that's sort of the high level, understanding I have of it right now. But I think there's a group called MapCore that's potentially going to help them. It's still in the research phase. That's why I don't have a lot of details. But the good news is Halifax County seems to be one of the pilots for the effort. So it's good stuff.
Yeah, just under like I'll put us under the bucket of education, I suppose, but under the header of telemedicine, telehealth, of course, we have the ability to do direct to consumer telemedicine with, as long as you have connectivity and some sort of device, laptop, iPhone, Android, and you can do the ECU Health Now, formerly Vidant Now, and you can download that app and see a provider for, I think it's $55, no insurance needed, just a flat rate. Which is it was great before COVID. COVID hit, everything went through the roof, and we're still seeing it at much higher numbers. And then on the education of older folks to use it, we have about 17% of the folks that are using the direct to consumer are over the age of 55. So we have a pretty high group of older folks using it. Anyway.
Well, if you want to learn more about that mapping thing, just let me know. I'll get you in touch with John sometime.
Yeah, I'd be curious what they're looking at.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so it's almost 11:30. We can get a couple minutes back, unless there's anything else y'all would like to share for the group. I will send this recording out to the full list of task force members, which is a pretty large list. I think a lot of people weren't able to join because it's Christmas week, of course. I did want to point out Annette's comment. We're happy to help you with some listening sessions. They don't have to be virtual. We're always open to in-person meetings as well. And LaShawn, you said you failed to mention that you're providing ACP. Do you want to talk a little bit about ACP and what y'all are doing for your customers?
Yes, we are excited to be able to offer this from the federal government to our customers. So they are getting a $30 payment applied to their account monthly for those who qualify. So this has been helping out tremendously now. It used to be called EBB. I think it's now ACP, but we are providing that to our customers.
Yeah, well, thanks for sharing. That's great. And Miriam's going to share the PowerPoint with me. I'll send those out, of course, along with Chester's. He sent those this morning. And LaShawn and Avery, if there's anything you would like me to share for the follow-up, I'm happy to do it. I know I shared that Connect Humanity article with the invite. Callum shared it as well. He had to sign off, but he did put a nice message in the chat there, and I just linked their website. So feel free to study up on them. That's a great group. And so with that, I guess we're good to go. Everybody have a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy New Year's.
Thanks.
Again, I
Ben.
appreciate it. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for the opportunity, Ben. We appreciate you.
No problem. See you soon.
Thank you, Ben.
Take
Yeah,
care.
thank you, Jim. Thanks, Chester.
Thank you, Ben.
You guys.